guess I've been blessed to be able to do this for all this time. At the same time, it's been a lot of hard work, discipline, a lot of sacrifices. It's a balance, you know. You got to follow your dreams and pursue what you love and become good at your craft. And you got to meet the right people. Without the school, I would not even have had a foot in the door. The school gives you the basics, the understanding. You got to hear it from somebody else sometimes to understand it. I would not have figured it all out by myself. No way. Working with Santana was amazing. Santana taught me one thing. He said, see the guitar? Don't make my guitar sound like this. I'll make guitar sound like this. That's a big lesson right there. Big lesson. We started from nothing. Now, the kids have so many options. I tell the young kids, you guys know how to run fast, but you guys don't know where to run to.
Hello, everybody. This is Ray Williams. Here we are today with another episode of Meet Our Engineers and Our Creators. Today, I'm very, very fortunate to have my friend Serge Tsai here, who works at Platinum Recording in New York. Serge, how you doing, my friend?
How you doing, Ray? Thanks for having me. It's really nice seeing you. It's been a while, so.
Yeah, and I gotta say, man, you got more toys behind you than me. I mean, I just got this flat wall here, man.
I just happened to be in the studio, you know. That's all.
It looks like some nice speakers back there. Looks like some nice speakers back there, man. So it's good to see you, man.
They sound amazing too.
Yeah, I could imagine. It's nice to see you. How are things at the studio? How has the pandemic been for you guys?
Everything is good. You know, since when the pandemic first started, it was a bit tough, but now everything is like picking up. We steadily, you know, getting our clients back and stuff is opening up, and you know, we're making moves. So,
well, Serge, you've been an engineer. You're doing a job that you know tens of thousands of young people want to do. I can count myself in one of those people when I was a lot younger. It's sort of a great job. It's a creative job. It's a technical job. It's a challenging job. And you've been doing this, man. What's it like being an engineer, top-notch engineer for all this time?
I guess I've been blessed to be able to do this for all this time. At the same time, it's you know, it's been a lot of hard work, discipline, a lot of sacrifices, you know. So it's a balance, you know. You got to follow your dreams and pursue what you love and become good at what you know, at your craft. But that takes energy, it takes discipline, it takes a lot of things. It takes chances. You have to take chances in life, you know, and you got to meet the right people.
And speaking of right people, we know that you work with Jerry Wonder and the Fugees connection. And you guys been making some great stuff, some amazing music, but we'll talk a little bit about that later. I want to delve a little bit. I want to go all the way back, okay? Where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in the Republic of Suriname. It's a country on the northeast coast of South America. It was colonized by the Dutch, the British. You know, we became an independent nation in 1975. So it's a Caribbean country on the northeast coast of South America. Hot, warm, you know, tropical weather. That's where I grew up as a young boy, teenage boy, in Holland. So I was born in Suriname. At a young age, we moved to Holland because Holland that's where my dad went to school in Holland. My mom, you know, she was a nurse. She went to do nursing in Holland. So that's how we ended up in Holland.
So tell me about growing up down in Suriname. What was it like musically? What kind of music did you hear as a child growing up down there?
I come from divorced parents, so you know, at my dad's house, the music was a little different than at my mom's house. You see, my stepfather, he was from the French Caribbean. He was from Martinique, so So you would hear a lot of Caribbean, French Caribbean, all the Kasaf, all the, that kind of stuff you would hear in the house, the Bob Marley and all that. And in my dad's house, he was more the jazz head. So that's where I hear Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, and all the Max Roach and that kind of stuff. So, and on the radio in Suriname, that's all pop music. It's all, top 40 American music, mostly. And of course, you have the Caribbean influence. And since we were in South America, you have the Brazilian influence. So it's a mixed bag, a big mixed bag.
Do you any partial to any particular kind of music? Did you like one more than the other? Did you become a fan of any artists when you were a kid?
Man, I always loved Bob Marley, and of course all the pop stuff was very pop, the Michael Jackson, Prince. We were big on Prince, Michael Jackson. I didn't get too big on stuff like the Beatles. Like I wasn't too big on but like all the top 40 American stuff. Yes, we were big on that. Mm-hmm. Big.
Now, what kind of
even the rock and roll stuff when it was the rock and roll era, the Def Leppard and all. We followed all that. Yes.
Now, what about the local artists in Suriname?
At that time, right, when I was growing up, the music influence was mostly coming from outside. Of course, in Suriname we have music, we have different, because it's a melting pot there, right? Suriname you have Indian people, black people, white, it's a melting pot. So the music is also a melting pot. But the native music there, we have Kaseko, and we have Kauna. Of course, we have the Indian style too, by Tagana and stuff. But I was gravitated toward Kawina, which is like these guys, here they use the machines to make the beats. It's third world. It's guys playing the drums for real. And with shakerays and people singing. That's how I started. That was my first recording session. It was a bunch of guys drumming and singing. That's called Kawina music.
Kawina music. And you also have, of course, on one side you got Guyana, the other side you got French Guyana, in the south you got Brazil, in the north you got the Caribbean.
And then
I mean, it's just hitting you from all sides. And you're Dutch.
Yeah.
So you got French on one side, English on the other side, Portuguese on one side.
Yeah. But that was good because it made us multilingual. I speak at least 4 or 5 different languages. That's probably thanks to my youth, growing up there, because I had friends from Brazil. I had friends from it was everywhere, and the official language in Suriname is Dutch, but the language everybody speaks is called Surinamese. It's taki-taki. It's like you can't even describe it. It's not even a broken English. It's not broken Dutch. It's got African words in it. It got Portuguese in it. It got English in it. It got everything in it.
So did you play any instruments as a child?
Well, as a kid, parents did their best. My mom put me to follow guitar classes. I went to this guy. I had to, every Friday afternoon, I had to go in the backyard of Mr. Favre, and he would teach me classical guitar. So I would start classical guitar and classical piano, but I didn't like it. At that time, I didn't know I was going to do music. I wanted to be a soccer player. I wanted to be outside playing soccer every day. That's what I was doing as a young kid, being outdoors, Afterwards, now, years later, I wish I had, really studied the guitar or something, maybe, but I guess that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. So,
so
sometimes you got to go with the flow.
Yes. How did you get into recording? I mean, you were recording these guys playing the drums. I mean, I imagine it's a lot of drums, and it's a very wide plane, right?
Oh yeah. But I started with live sound. So my career didn't start in the recording. I entered this through live sound. My friend was a drummer in the top 40 band in Suriname, right? And they needed a sound man because the sound man, he was traveling a lot. So my friend's like, yo man, come do sound. So that's how it started. I started doing live sound with this band back home. And that's how it started. And then I was like, oh man, this is something. This is sound. then I realized this is what I wanted to do. So then I started, then I started looking for how I can educate myself, because back there I didn't even know about recording. You don't read the credits or who played the record or who recorded it. We didn't know those things. I didn't even know this job existed, when I was 12 years old. Let me put it that way. So it wasn't until in my late teen years that I started interested and wanted to learn about sound, and then I came to New York to school.
At some point, your family moved to Holland. What was that like, going from Suriname to Holland?
We grew up in Rotterdam, which is a port city. I still have lots of family and friends in Holland.
So after Life Sound, you decided you really love this, this sound business. But did you think that could be a career? And weren't your parents pushing you to become like a doctor or a lawyer or something like that that's more stable?
Yeah, of course. My dad didn't understand this. You see, my dad is an architect. My mom was more understanding. She was a free spirit. She would let me, she was the one who would let me pursue my dreams. Like go do whatever you want. Just go follow you. God bless her. But it took a while for my dad to understand what I was doing, a long time. So he couldn't understand it. He's a scholar, so he's like, but what are you doing, carrying speaker boxes around? Like, dude, this ain't gonna do nothing. This ain't gonna pay no bills. What are you talking about?
So at some point you became really serious and you wanted to go study. So tell me about the first time you started studying sound.
I came to New York. I went to, at that time, this is 89, right? So there's not a lot of opportunities for a young boy like me coming from Suriname, and I found this school in New York. It was Institute of Audio Research. It was one of the few schools at that time that was teaching audio, like recording technology and stuff. There were probably a couple others, but there wasn't that many programs. Now there's programs everywhere, right? Which is a good thing. But at that time, that was and so I came to school, and as soon as I got to New York, I there was this energy and even like my first semester in school, I was like, oh, so then they tell you about, oh, you can go do an internship when you graduate. But I started doing an internship while I was going to school, like before in my first semester. I'm like, okay, where can I go find an internship? And I ended up going to Chungking Studios, and it was a culture shock. It was like, this is the beginning of hip hop. Hip hop was like, you have guys like Run DMC in the studio, Orange Juice Jones. It was like, I was like, whoa, what is this?
You were learning at school, but you're also learning on the job. How important do you think the schooling part of it was?
Oh, no, without the school, I would not even have had a foot in the door. You see, the school gives you a foot in the door. That's how I saw it. Most of what you do on your daily, you learn in the studio, right? But the school gives you the basics, the understanding of the theory. You need the theory as well. And yeah, you got to hear from somebody else sometimes to understand it. You can't. I would not have figured it all out by myself. No way. I don't think so.
After school, did you go back to Suriname?
Yes, I did. I went all over the world. I went to Europe. I tried to go record in Europe. I went to France. And then I went back to Suriname to go record, and I did a whole bunch of records there. And actually, when I went back to Suriname and I recorded, like I said, the guys drumming and all that, right? And I took that album back, and when I came back in '95, I had a few albums that I recorded. And that's the album I played for the studio owner in Brooklyn, right? This Japanese guy, Yoichi. It was a studio in Brooklyn, but we were catering mostly to the Caribbean community, the Haitian people, the Trinis, the Jamaicans, also hip hop. So when I played it through a friend, I got in touch with Yoichi, and they was looking for engineers, and I played them CD. At that time, it was CDs. It was called this band named Sukrusani, and he heard it, and I was hired on the spot. The same day, he's like, "Yo, this is crazy," because it was like something you don't hear like here and so that's how it really started.
So tell me about. I'm curious about this recording that you made. So how many drummers are we talking about here, and how did they arrange themselves, and were they in the studio? How many mics? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, it's a formation, right? It's a formation. So the band consists of so you have the bangi man, the bangi man, the koti man. These are all different drum parts, right? The koti, the bangi, the hari, the timbal, the scratchy, which is the big boom boom boom. And then you have the shaker eights, a couple of shaker eights, and then it's all a choir singing, and you have lead vocalists. So it's call and response most of the time, and the songs are long. It's like 6-7 minute songs, and they go from different phases to like it.
And it all has to be played together, I imagine.
Oh yeah. At that time, hold on. Yeah, you see, I come. That recording was done on 16 tracks, half inch, 16 tracks, half inch. Again, let me say it again. 16 tracks, half inch. Okay.
Was it a Tascam MS-16?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I used a lot of that coming up myself.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. So they all have to come down together. So you got to kind of do it as one. It's almost like a live recording.
Yes. It is a live recording. The only thing it's not live. The shaker ace we did overdubs. So the lead vocalist, so he does a scratch, and then he can go back in, and then the choir, the response, we do overdubs. But the rhythm section is all live with a good scratch.
And because this is an interesting thing for me, what kind of separation you need for something like this, or do you worry about it? How do you handle it?
Well, I was from Suriname. We didn't have no fancy studios. We had Fantu Studios and Royan, and at my time it was Fantu Studios. That was an 8-track recording studio. And listen, 8 tracks, but it was really only 6 tracks working. Right? So that was the first studio experience I had in Suriname. And then they opened, Stopro, he had the 16 tracks, and Royan Studios, they had the 16 tracks. So that was an upgrade, go from the 6 tracks to the 16 tracks. So,
But the public couldn't tell how many tracks because the recordings were probably just amazing.
At that time, we wasn't thinking about how many tracks. It was just like happy to be able to record something. That's what it would, at that time back home. That was, you had to fly your stuff if you had that 16-track machine.
No, I remember that machine, man. In 1995, you moved back to America and you start working in Brooklyn. So tell me about some of those early recordings that you made out there in Brooklyn.
Oh man, you know who I met there? I met Marshall Montana there. Marshall is like the king of soca.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I met Marshall for the first time. We did a lot of Caribbean stuff. We used to go. My Japanese boss, he used to love the pan drums, steel pan. Every year they have steel pan festival, behind the museum in Brooklyn, and we would go do sound and go record the stuff and stuff like that. So those were highlights. And then of course I met I have like some guys I still record with that I met since then. I have my friend Jason Spirit I still record with, and I met him since back then, so it's good stuff.
A lot of cool things happening over in Brooklyn. At some point you meet Jerry Wonder. How does this happen?
So at the studio in Funky Slice, we had my man Don Guillaume. He was an engineer, artist, producer who was at Funky Slice as well, right? And all of a sudden he was gone for a year. He was a drummer, so he became the drummer for the Fugees. So he went on the road with Jerry and all that. So when they came back from the road, he brought Jerry to the studio, to Funky Slice. And at that time, Funky Slice, we had a Sony console, the Sony MCI board. and Jerry had the same Sony MCI console at the Booker Basement in New Jersey. And Funky Slice was going through a transition. You know, the Japanese owner, they were trying to close down the business. So, you know, I had to look for new opportunities as well. So Jerry invited me to come to New Jersey and check a studio out at the Booker Basement. And that's it. That was it. We've been working ever since.
It's amazing. You guys have been together longer than most people are married. How do you, I mean, and Jerry's live wire, right? So, I mean, how do you deal with Jerry?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, there's a little thing. Like Jerry's birthday is one day apart from my dad's birthday, right? So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. That's why we get along. Like I don't know, but we get along. We have an understanding. He's very professional. He's very passionate, and you know, he puts people in the right places at the right time. It's like, hey, you know.
And at some point, you guys opened up Platinum Sound in New York.
Yeah.
That's a big studio.
Oh yeah.
How did that happen, and how did you make that decision?
I mean, at that time, right? This is 2000. This is right before, 20 years. 9/11. I remember clearly 9/11 20 years ago. You know, we were already at Platinum Sound, the old Platinum Sound on 46th Street. We had just opened. But yes, at that time, turn of the century, 2000. Oh, there's a lot of major big studios were closing down, like Hit Factory, Sony Studios. They were all, you know, closing down because I don't know, the real estate market or whatever the reason was. Big studios were closing, but Jerry and Clef, they were at that time they were working with everybody. They were practically living at the Hit Factory at that time, right? So Jerry's like, man, we gotta open. Yeah, they decided to open their own studio, and he wanted it to be a world level studio. So Jerry and Clef opened Platinum Sound, and we had two major 80 channel console rooms, SSLJ and SSLK, with Osberger monitors, fully blown Pro Tools, etc. So that was in 2000.
Because at that time, I mean, it was the studio business looked like a very shaky business. People were worried about the future. Everything was going at home. And I'm just wondering where they got the sort of strength and belief that they could do it themselves. Must have been a lot of confidence in Jerry and Clef.
Oh yeah, no, Jerry, but Jerry, you gotta imagine, he started the studio from his dad's basement. You know, the Booker Basement. That's where they did the Fuji album. The score was done out of a basement studio in New Jersey. So. You know, he still believes in the recording business, so that's why we're still here. You know, and so we moved to this new location maybe 3.5 years ago.
In some ways, I mean, Jerry is his best customer because Jerry is constantly in his studio making music.
Yeah, he is. He's developing, he's developing new artists. He's developing, he's doing a lot of collaborations. He works with people overseas. He's constantly busy.
All right, now let's talk about you and engineering now. Do you enjoy being an engineer?
Oh yeah, I love it. I mean, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't still be doing this.
Now, what is it like when you're trying to get the vocal and the singer thinks it's good, you know it's not so good, and they don't want to do it again, and you have people in control and behind you also chiming in? How do you manage the sort of psychology of the recording space with multiple people around you and you are in the middle of it, like the quarterback? Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that kind of tension in that creative space?
Yeah, sometimes there's tension, but usually you try to smooth it out. It's like sometimes they don't want to do it again, and you let it be, and you're gonna work it out, either tune it, fix it, move it, shift it, if they don't want to do it again. But sometimes you don't have the say, oh, you got to do it again. You know, like sometimes you got to let it go, like because you can't say it all the time. You know, like because some artists already know that's what you know. They don't even care what you wanted, how you wanted it to sound. They know what they want it to sound like. So you got to respect that as well. So it's a fine line. It's a fine line, you know.
Right, between what you want and what they want.
What they want, right.
Right.
Of course, they come. You know, when they come see me, it's they you know, they most of the time they respect my professional opinion. You know, I can't say I got in tension with people about, oh, you got to do it again. No, we never got to that point. I never got to that.
But Serge, you're the kind of personality. I don't think it's going to take it's going to take something crazy to get you to start throwing punches in the studio. Now, do you track much, or do you more mix, or do you consider yourself a tracking guy, or both, or are you more mixing guy?
No, I'm a recording mixing engineer. I enjoy both. I enjoy recording. I enjoy the process. I enjoy delivering a finished product as well. I enjoy it both.
A lot of people in our community, in our recording society, you know, there's this thing that'll never go away: analog, digital. Do you see the value of the sort of people always talking about how great analog was, how warm it was? Is there any validity to that whole thing about the analog sound?
Oh, of course there is. Analog is analog. You know, it's like a classic car will always be a classic car. You know, a 1965 Mustang is going to be a 1965 Mustang. If you keep it in great shape, it's going to be a great car till forever, you know. But then the challenge is to maintain that 1965 Mustang and to keep it in that shape, you know. You're going to ride it around every day? No, you're not going to ride it around every day. You want to have that EV Mustang in the garage as well, you know. So that's how I see it.
Now, do you do any analog recording at all right now?
Oh yeah, of course. We have an analog desk. We have a SSL, a smaller format SSL, but I still use analog. You know, microphones and mic pre's are still the thing. Yes.
Now I want to talk to you about the consoles. Now, you know, there's a lot of mixing in the box and mixing on the console. Oh, yeah. For you, what's the difference?
I do both. And I do a combination. I do some records. I do complete analog mixing. Oh no, you can't say complete because it already lives in a DAW. So a lot of stuff already happens in the DAW. So it's a hybrid mixing environment in my situation, right? Some records I'll spread it out on the board. You know, I have a AWS. You know, 24 returns, and I have 24 channels of analog return now I can play around with. So that's how I do it. I do analog summing, and in a lot of cases, I do in the box. You can't tell which record I did in the box or which one I did analog.
Right, but for when you spread it out on the console, what do you get that you don't get in the box?
Time. You see, now I don't mix on 80 channel analog consoles no more. Back then, you know, like even 10 years ago, we were still mixing everything on a big 80 channel console, and you had more time. You needed more time, slower process. So now the pace is faster. So I don't think that workflow would fit in my workflow again. I don't think I can go back and start mixing again on an 80 channel console for the same amount of records I want to do not back in the day you mix it all analog. You take a day and a half to mix a record. A day and a half, I mix 4 or 5 records now, maybe even more. So it's a whole different, it's a different thing now.
And then the recall has got to be a big reason as well.
Yeah, it's not like before, because before in the all analog world, everything had to be recalled. The whole room had to be back reset. Like it was intense. very intense.
But then some consoles have a certain sound, right? Do you think it's possible to get that kind of sound as well in the DAW?
Why not?
The answer is a yes.
Yes, of course.
Now, let's talk about mixing in the box. Did you have to, how long did it take you to make that transition? Was it automatic? Was it easy? I mean, are you still developing those skills about mixing in a box?
I'm still developing. Mixing is an evolution. The way I used to mix 10 years back, 10 years ago, there's probably still some stuff I use from how I did it 10 years ago, but at the same time, I've developed new ways and new skills and to do the polishing. It's evolution. If you don't grow, then what's the purpose?
Speakers, speakers are so important. For you, what do you look for in speakers, and how do you choose the speaker to use?
Like, you see the speakers behind me?
Yeah.
Those are Asperger's, right? The big mains, very well tuned, and tuned to the room. That's key in the mixing process. Is what you hear. Is what you hear. Do you get what you hear, and does it translate back, to other medium? That's the key to a good mixing speaker. Is how does it translate to other, medium? How are they gonna hear it back on the other side? That's the key. And of course, the experience.
I see you also have some smaller speakers there. So why explain to our viewers, why would you need two speakers in the control room?
Oh, you need three, two pair, three pair. The little ones are for the little reference speakers, for the computer speakers. You got to hear it big, you got to hear it small, you got to hear it loud, low, different volume levels. You got to hear it in different ways. You can't just hear it in one way.
For recording and mixing, Serge, we've heard a lot in the last few years about, your hearing and preserving your hearing. How seriously do you take that, and what steps do you take as far as your listening volume when you're mixing?
I mean, you listen loud, less loud, and you don't stay listening loud for a long time. Loud is just for a little bit to get the vibe, and then you don't stay loud, you don't mix loud, you don't stay mixing loud. That's not the purpose. You don't do that. You gotta protect your ears.
Yeah, you do. You really do.
I mean, if you want to do this for a long time.
When you're recording, what kind of bit rates do you record at in general?
In general, these days I'm 48K. In Pro Tools, I'm at 32-bit, and usually ending up exporting at 24-bit. But 48K. Some projects might be at higher sampling rates at 96 or 88 too, but yeah, most of my projects are at 48K, especially these days. It's really work. The files ain't too big, your sessions ain't too, it's a workable sampling rate.
In your facility, I imagine sometimes you start a project in one room, you continue it in another room, you move it back to this room. How do you guys move the projects around between rooms?
Now we have two different rooms. And both are pretty much equipped with the same Pro Tools, similar plugins. That's how you keep it consistent now. Like, we don't have a big J console and a big K console no more. It's just keep the computer decked out the same way as the other one.
But I mean, how do you move the files over? Do you have a central server, or do you have a shared drive? How do you?
I work off SSD. I just work off little SSDs that I,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And we have, because I have like, my computer is hooked up with a system where I can just plug in, the 2.5 SSDs. I just slide them in a slot, boop.
Now let's talk about microphones. You must have a huge collection of microphones, a platinum sound. Let's say you got to do a recording tomorrow, a female vocalist. Which mic do you use, Serge, and why? And how do you decide when you have so many mics?
It depends on of course, the quality of the vocal. But there's certain mics that are more like, we have like the classic. We have like a U67 original. That's like a really classic mic. I don't break that mic out for anybody. When Gloria Gaynor shows up, you break out a U67, the original, right? When Shakira shows up, you break out the Elan 251. Then you have your daily workhorses. Like I have my AK-47. It's not a gun; it's a microphone. Telefunken AK. Then I have a Browner. I have Neumann's. You have certain mics that you work every day, and then you have certain mics that are more for special occasions.
Do you find that the microphone makes a difference in terms of the sound?
Of course it does. Yeah, every microphone got its own color and own frequency response, and of course you can make any mic sound great, but mics do matter. Great mics do matter.
Remember, kids, very important, your mic selection. Remember that. Very, very important which mic you use. And learn your mics.
Great mic pre's. Yes.
Learn your mics. And tell us about mic pre's. Do you guys have a favorite? Do you have a sort of standard set? How important is a mic pre?
That's besides the mic pre's, the mic pre and the mic are the two most important parts, because that's the source. Of course, the vocalist is but that's where you get the sound from. It's from your mic and your mic pre. That's where you get your initial sound from. It's your mic pre. If you overdrive your mic pre, usually it's hard to overdrive a microphone. Usually, where the people make the mistake is the gain setting, the gain stage, and they usually peak the mic pre. It's not the mic that peaks, it's usually the mic pre. So gain staging is important.
If you don't mind, Serge, for our listeners, just in the briefest way, simplest way, can you explain what gain staging is?
To get you to, what is your preferred level of your dial or your mic pre? Do you throw it all open? Do you close it up? Do you open it up a lot before your compressor? Do you go to a compressor after your mic pre? Like, how you get your signal from the source, the vocal or the drum or the guitar or whatever, to your DAW in a acceptable way, where you can still treat it right and still have dynamics and still loud enough and clear enough and all that.
And that's a process that I imagine you develop and evolve continuously through your career as a recording engineer.
Yes, those are the things those are the tools of the trade.
In your recording career, have you ever made any major mistakes, like forget to record Shakira, or you record over something else? Any stories like that from your career that you could share with us?
In my career, maybe I've been too much to record. I always record. You can ask my guys. I teach them. You always say record. You hear we recording. That's what we do. You record. Don't hit play and then record. You hit record. We always say record here. We don't miss nothing.
Okay, I like that. I like that philosophy.
When you're gonna know when you miss that, you're like, oh, I should have recorded that. No, you always say record. The artist be like, oh, did you catch that? And you be like, hey, yeah, I got it. That's the guy you gotta be, or that girl you gotta be.
Were you ever an assistant coming up? You must have been.
Yeah, of course. I started as an intern at Chunking Studios. I didn't know nothing in the studio. I was a green bee. I was like green as green. I could hardly speak English. They put me on the phones at Chunking Studios in the middle of the night, bro. It was a culture shock. I had to learn a lot, but that's what it takes.
Now, do you have assistants now, and what do they do for you?
Yeah, no, we have a lot of assistants. We have interns, assistants. Assistants nowadays, the job description is a little different. You see, when I was being an assistant, you had to learn how to align the tape machines, all the outboard gear. Now it's a little different. Now they have to know more of the computer stuff, the plugins, and stuff like that. The job description of an assistant is a little different now than it was back 10 years ago.
So if somebody watching this aspires to get their foot in somewhere as an assistant, your advice would be to learn plugins and learn those kind of systems, master them?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Learn how to tune, learn tuning, learn your, learn your melodyne, get your melodyne chops up, like stuff like that. It's always a plus. Of course, like I mean, I'm a real recording mixing engineer, but nowadays, the kids they're more into making beats too. I was into that, but that it didn't take the recording and mixing process is taking so much of my time and effort that I never really got to go there, and I don't even regret it. But these days, the kids do everything. They make beats, they engineer,
You have a professional recording studio with a live room, but a lot of recordings now are done right in the control room. Do you ever have a request to do even vocals in the control room? And how do you manage that?
Oh yeah, we do that every day. Yeah, we put our headphones right here. He sits right, the artist right next to me, and we put our headphones and we kick it right there, right here. We do that all the time. It happens all the time. Yeah.
And is it a question of it's a little bit more intimate, a little bit more direct, rather than being out in the big room?
They tend to feel that because usually they come, they don't come by themselves, so that everybody's in the control room, so everybody's here. So it's an atmospheric thing. It's a vibe. It is a vibe.
How important do you think, as a mixing engineer, is acoustics? And I'm particularly thinking not from your perspective, because your treatment is done by an acoustician. I'm talking about people trying to mix at home or mixing in other places, or you yourself might find yourself mixing in other places. So how important is acoustics, and how can you kind of mitigate some of the imbalances you get from your room?
See, I come, like, again, you see, we started from where I started. I started from a real, like, third world. We had nothing. When I tell you, I was mixing on 6.5. We had nothing. So I come from nothing. So yes, acoustic treatment is important, but knowing your speakers, knowing, like, I know when I was coming up, we didn't have no very well acoustic treated rooms. We did mixes, and some of them came out great. Some of them they still play now. So I've been mixing. When I first started, we were mixing on 6.5 to noise. Then we moved to events. Then we moved to a different speaker set. It's like I said, it's evolution. You get better at your skills. You learn some things. You de-learn some things. You try to de-learn bad habits. And improve your bad habits and improve your efficiency.
Now, speaking of efficiency, I've seen some sessions that come to guys like yourself that have like hundreds of tracks, not 100 and some, hundreds of tracks. And before, when you started out, you were an 8-track, 16-track. Now, how do you manage having 200 things in front of you?
One at a time. You got to go through it. You can't. There's no shortcut there. You can't just say, "Oh, okay." You got to listen to it, right? You got to know what every part is doing. If all those 200 tracks are part of the record, you got to listen to all those 200 parts to be able to make a clear judgment. If you didn't listen to all the 200 parts, you can't make a clear judgment. So you got to go through it.
But how do you blend them now? Like, how do you do it? It's almost like too many things.
Part by part. It may sound too many, but maybe they don't all play at the same time. That's why we have EQ, we have compression, you have all the tools to be able to blend them or to be able to carve them.
Serge, as you know, reverb is on every record that's made has reverb on it. If not artificial reverb, natural reverb. What's the Serge approach to using reverb?
Reverb is the single one thing that can define a record, like, because it's the space you put the record in. You see, it's the space you put the vocalist in, it's the space you put the drummer in, or the space you put the guitar in. It can define a place. It can define. It has so much definition that you can define with reverb. And of course, now they have great digital reverbs, great plugins. There's so many great plugins, reverb plugins. Back in the days, you didn't have that many. Now it's it's beautiful reverbs. So yes, reverb is to me very important.
And do you tend to treat different sections of the mix, like maybe the drums differently than the vocal? They have different reverbs. How many different sort of treatments you have, and how do you bring them together?
It depends on the record. Sometimes you want the drums to be in the same space as the vocals. Sometimes you don't want it to be in the same space. It all depends on the record. I can't say that there's one formula for every record. Like every record has its own life, you can say, and that's going to decide which reverbs you're going to use, and where you're going to use the reverb, and how much of the reverb you're going to use. It's like salt. It's like when you can't take a handful of salt and throw it on the food and be like, it's going to be too salty. So, but some people like a lot of salt in their food, but it's not good for the high blood pressure.
That's right. Okay, another aspect of, especially for vocals, is delay. What do you do with delay? I mean, you put delay on everything. I'm sure every record has some delay on it. But how do you decide what delay? How do you deal with it versus reverb? What's the Serge approach to that?
You should listen to the records I've done. Like you try to put some signature stuff in there. Like you try all. Like when you mix a record, there's certain things you try to. Of course, you give the client what they want, but you have to put a little signature in there. You got to sign it off. Right? It could be with a special delay effect. It could be with a special reverb effect. That's the little signature things you do. Like your little special effects.
Right? I see. Very good. So we're going to use that for some special effects. Now, of course, here comes the big one, compression. How much compression is too much compression? How do you approach it? Do you compress the vocals before you hit the DAW? What do you want to say as far as your philosophy on compression?
Compression is a great tool. Yes, I do use compression, and normally I'll have a analog compressor on my vocal chain before going into the DAW. A good analog compressor. A versatile analog compressor. It could be a LA2A, CL1B, 1176, Distressor. There's so many great, compressors. A compressor gives you a little more control over. You don't want to over compress. Certain songs need a lot of compression. It depends on the style. Or depends on of course, everything is dependent on the record you're working on. One record. What's good for one record is not necessarily great for another record. You might have to. Maybe you don't even need compression on a vocal for a certain record. The other one might need a lot. You need to squash it.
So you would use compression on a vocal before you hit the DAW. What about the school of thought that says just record it as clean as possible and then compress it once it's on the DAW when you play it back?
That's cool too. That's not our school of thought here. We try to shape the sound. You try to shape a good sound going in to your DAW. And they always just say, fix it in the mix. No, we get a good sound in. And it makes the work less hard. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Efficiency, right? You try to be more efficient in your work. Like when you do, when you first starting, right? You got to do a lot of experimentation. You got to experiment, and then you're going to see what works for you, what works best for you. And then like, if you want to do this for a long time, right, you're going to have to learn how to do stuff more efficient, and you're going to have to see what works for you. What might work for one engineer might, so some engineers go harder on the compression. I'm not that kind of guy.
Now, here's another one, saturation. There's so many uses for saturation. How do you use saturation in your mixes?
Sometimes even on the vocal you use saturation. Sometimes you saturate the whole mix. Sometimes you saturate just the guitars. This thing is so crazy. This sound thing is so, you have so much creativity, but at the same time there's also discipline in it. Like I always try to put it like this. you know, if you want to make a marinara sauce, you need the ingredients to make a marinara sauce. You can't say, oh, I'm going to get some potatoes and start making a marinara sauce. You need tomatoes, you need garlic, you need the right ingredients to make a marinara sauce. If you want to flip burgers, you can flip burgers, but you need the right ingredients to flip burgers. So it's the same thing with audio, There's tools of the trade that go for certain things.
But don't sprinkle too much salt on it. Always moderation.
No. Yes.
Taste.
Yes.
Tell me about vocal tuning. Do you guys do any tuning? And tell me how that's developed.
Yes. And thanks to you for putting us on. Yes. Melodyne is key. Melodyne, get your Melodyne game on. Yes. And learn the program. That's what it is. It's evolution. You gotta learn the programs.
Yeah. So can you tell the story of when I came there?
Oh yeah.
First time to the
studio. We thought we knew Melodyne, man. We had the program. We was messing around, and we was like all excited, and we really thought we knew the program. And Ray came and really gave us the lowdown on how to use this program. Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
You're very welcome, man. There's a lot of artificial intelligence that's starting to creep into the audio space. We've seen it in the video space. Have you had any chance to check out any of those tools, and do you see any sort of use for that in your world?
Oh yeah, I have checked it out. Like Isotope came out with that thing, and it analyzes and gives you a couple of curved things and tells you, it's cool. It's cool. It's helpful in certain cases, and it gives you a different perspective too. It's like another set of ears, kind of like what do you think? Like you ask the machine, what do you think? Tell me what you think, and it gives you a little, like a little suggestion of and then it's up to you. You're gonna use that what the machine thinks, or you're gonna use your ears,
Right. Very cool.
And you can always tweak what the AI hears.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the modern consumer, a lot of times they're listening to music in earbuds. When you do a mix, how do you kind of optimize it for a beautiful, lovely listening environment, and also for these things?
See the little speakers you see in the background? Those are really for the little earbud environment. That's where I go and spay on the little speakers, the little ref tones there. And so you can have an idea. I don't really mix on the earbuds, but you can get the idea of little speakers, so you can see it in a smaller environment. So and then you can also hear it how it would sound big in the club.
Now, do you ever do mixes on headphones? Like if you're offsite or you're doing something smaller, do you mix on headphones?
I haven't gone that route. I'm a speaker guy. I love listening to the speakers. Headphones a little reference, but not that I have done full mixes on headphones.
Now your master bus, you have your insert effects, you have like your groups, and you have your master bus. How do you decide, or what's the general idea as to what you'd put in as an insert, what you would put in like groups and subgroups, and then what you put on a master bus?
Inserts usually, you have inserts. You put EQs, you put compressors. You could put on inserts. There's a lot of tools you put on inserts. On a master bus, on sends you put reverbs, delays, choruses, flangers, like the side effects. And you can also put on sends, you can put like sidechain. You can also put a compressor there for sidechain compression. You can do parallel compression with sending. And then the master bus, you usually keep like, maybe a EQ, a little compressor. And, some guys use heavy limiters. I'm not a big limiter guy, but the limiters are guys use limiters a lot.
That's a perfect segue into the mastering engineer, because you are the mixing engineer, but then the material goes to another person, the mastering engineer. Do you leave a little something, a little headroom for that person? Do you ever take that person into consideration?
Yes, you leave room. But, like these days, the client that comes in, they want to hear it loud. So I give them a little a reference. like a master reference, a loud one, and then if they're gonna go to a mastering place, I'll give them one with space for the mastering guy, and these days you have good relationship with the mastering people, so yeah, you leave room for the mastering guy. Of course, you got to leave room.
Now, as you know, with the streaming services, they have certain loudness limits. How has that impacted the way you deliver the mixes now?
We always left room, like if you listen to the records from even back in the day, there's like some even sound bigger than the records from nowadays, done even at lower levels. Like it impacted a little bit, but it's we still mixing the same way. It's not that much of an impact on how we conduct our work. Like the loudness war, I leave the loudness war for the mastering guys.
Anything that would surprise people about how you mix?
From what perspective?
From anything, like something that you would do that people would not think maybe you would do, or something you always do that maybe nobody's ever known.
You never know what we're gonna do. That's the surprise. We don't know which record will need what.
So the surprise is
we don't
never know what Serge is gonna do.
That's you never know what's gonna happen. That's the cool thing about it. It's like, oh, okay. Like last night we had this guy, this Japanese kid from Osaka here, bro. A rapper from Osaka.
Wow.
I'm not fluent in Japanese, but the kid came and we had a great time. He recorded it was slamming, banging. And we wasn't even speaking the same language. I didn't understand one word he was rapping, but the shit was amazing.
Awesome. And the next day is something completely different.
Yeah. And today we have DMC with some rock and roll. Yes. You can't beat that.
All right, I'm going to do some name dropping now. Okay?
Oh, gosh.
Name dropping. You got to tell me what's like working with this. Of course, we have to ask about Shakira. What was it like working with Shakira the first time? Tell us that story.
Oh, that was amazing. The first time when we met Shakira was in Miami at a Hit Factory Criteria, where we went with Jerry and Clef, where we went and do Hips Don't Lie. That was an amazing experience. It was a great first time when we met her. We worked on Hips Don't Lie. And she brought her a band from Colombia. You see the middle part, that's a band from Colombia she brought in, and she had this percussion player from he was amazing. It was just an amazing experience.
And then you recorded that record, and did you mix that record as well?
Oh yes we did. That was a full 80 channel SSL, full, like every channel used, every single fader used on the board.
So did you have any idea that it would be when you were mixing it or when you were recording it, because it was a remake of another song? Did you have any idea that it could be successful?
A little bit, but not like that. That was like Godzilla, King Kong. It was monster. Like, I remember we mixed that record in January. It was January 6th because my birthday is January 7th. So we was in the studio with Shakira. And when we mixed that record, 2 weeks later, we did the Spanish version too. But by the time the summer came around, that record was everywhere. Like, when I tell you everywhere. And this is like before Spotify, before all the streaming thing. They dropped the record on MTV. This is before all the streaming services. They didn't even drop the record on iTunes at that time. It was just airplay, and it was everywhere.
What's going on inside of your head now when you see that? Like, what are you thinking?
Man, we were just having a good time. And at that time, we had the studio at Times Square. I was a little younger, a little wilder. We was just having fun. It was just fun, and it was good because it created a buzz, and so we was getting more traction in the studio. And and better, more work. So it's a good time.
But did you ever? I mean, like, you're the guy from Suriname, right? Who was on the phone at Chunk King at nighttime. When you went into that studio, you didn't do a damn thing. So now you got like the biggest record, like, for as far as the eye can see. So what are you thinking? What are your parents thinking? What are your friends thinking? I mean, the people around you.
Nah, my parents, they don't even realize that yet. I didn't even realize that yet. We don't even realize that the record's going to be that big. Like, we just keep living our life and keep doing us, and making more records. Didn't get that big, but some of them got colossal as well.
No, it's an amazing record. You've worked with some great artists, and we're just going to ask just a few anecdotes of what it was like to work with some of these people. Some of them are really household names. What was it like working with Santana?
Working with Santana was amazing. Santana taught me one thing. He said, "See the guitar? Don't make my guitar sound like this. I'll make guitar sound like this." You understand it now? That's right.
Okay.
That's a big lesson right there. Big lesson. So you take this little, every time somebody drops you a little dime, you take them little dimes and till you have a big jar of collections of dimes. And that's what you carry in your life, and takes you to the next step.
Amazing. Now, of course, you've worked with the Fugees, you've worked with Wyclef. Did you start with those guys, or because that came a little after the big record? Have you done future additional work with them?
Yeah, I've done work with the Fugees after they came back together. They did some records, and we also been in the archives with the old Fuji stuff on the never released, never heard Fuji stuff. We have in the archives, so
maybe a surprise is coming. You worked with Mick Jagger. Tell me about Mick Jagger.
Yep, I remember that. I don't remember much of that session because we were at the Hit Factory at that time. Wild days, but yes, it's Mick Jagger, But those days, Jerry and Clef were really, So I was a humble little boy, like I wasn't much. Of course, you're impressed of all these people, but you stay, we were focused on doing the job. It wasn't about like, Mick Jagger, or like it didn't matter who was there. It was, you focus on, the task at hand. It didn't matter who it was. It was if it was, because there were also people there that wasn't big superstars, and we had to do the same, same effort, same focus, same discipline. So I think that's what keeps us grounded, because it don't matter who it is, you got to keep the same discipline and the same efforts.
Now, you've also worked with Jimmy Cliff, and you must have heard Jimmy Cliff as a little boy in
as growing up. Yeah, that was yep. That was amazing. Yeah, that record got nominated as well for the Grammy when we worked with Jimmy Cliff for a best reggae album or something. That's Jimmy Cliff. That's an OG. That's OG Jimmy Cliff.
Yeah, one of the originals.
That's way back. Wow.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you, I did my research, okay? One of my favorite songs you mixed, which is American Boy, Estelle and Kanye West. Tell us about that. That song, you must have known that was going to be a hit.
Man, that was an amazing record. Estelle did her thing on the record. So that was Estelle. So will.i.am did the beat. We cut the record with Estelle, and then she wanted Kanye on it. So Kanye came to the studio. We put up the E-Lamp for Kanye, and he did his verse. It wasn't the way you hear it on the record. He did a full, long verse, and then they chopped it up. We chopped it up and put it in parts. But yes, that was an amazing record. Yeah. That's one of them too. That's Godzilla right there. That's a Grammy-winning record.
You know, when you're working on these records, because this is a very catchy song, after the third, fourth time going through it, you must have known it was going to be a big record.
That was her first record though. So you don't know, you know, that was her first American release. So you don't know what it's gonna do yet. But yeah, she caught it with that record. Yeah. She definitely caught it with that record.
So by now you're starting to build a name for yourself. You got some big records under your belt. What happens to your career? I mean, do you feel a pull? Do you ever wanted to go become a producer? What's going on in your head?
At this time now, the work is coming. Work is steady. Work is, you know, you getting more, you know. I mean, I'm still with Clef and Jerry, so they still pumping, you know, like we still in the studio every day. It's nothing changed. It's like we still grinding. It's still a grind, and we have that same motto. I still do it on a daily basis. I'm in the studio 5 days a week. Like it's a grind. It don't stop. Like you did whatever you did yesterday or 2 years ago. I mean, it matters, but it don't matter for the guy that walks in tomorrow. He wants his record done. He wants his record. He wants his shine now. And work on the next record.
Because you moved from Midtown. Where did you move the studio to?
Oh, we in Tribeca now. It's a way calmer vibe. Way, you know, we in a smaller. We have a big live room as well, but our format consoles are smaller. We're more compact, more faster, more efficient. We're not bogged down by big consoles. No, not anymore. I don't think it's, you know, we're not in that. We don't do that kind of stuff no more.
Now, we're very happy that you really taken the time to talk to us today. Do you ever get out to do any workshops or any sort of events outside of the studio to help, you know, kind of convey to other people?
I haven't done that in a very long time because I see it like this too, you know, like this is our own thing. So I kind of keep my own crew here. We have our own team of engineers here. And we take interns, we take, you know, students, and we groom them here. So it's like a more in-house thing. If you part of platinum, you're gonna get the Serge and Jerry Wonder sound. Yeah, I think it's more effective this way, and then I can still do my craft because I feel like if I go out there too much, of go do workshops, then I can't be in the studio like I am like on a daily basis.
Are you guys interested in maybe integrating with this Atmos or this immersive sound? Do you have any plans to?
Oh yeah. Talk about that. Yes, we in the middle actually of having our room, our Atmos ready. We getting our room and so we can have a full 9.1 system so we can do immersive audio here.
Looking back on your career, Serge, you're the guy the way I look at it, you're the guy that came in, you had this kind of world vision, you had 5 languages, you had exposure to so much difference in terms of music and culture. How much of that you think contribute to sort of your style, your way of working, your career, your success, some of just what's happened to you?
That's a big part. Yeah, no, 100%. That defined my career. That helped my career 100%. I was lucky enough to be able to have that experience and that kind of exposure to worldly things, and so I can see it from a different. I can listen to an African record or even a Indian record and appreciate it. Like I listen to Ravi Shankar. I grew up listening to Ravi Shankar. We used to hear Fela Kuti, and at the same time we used to hear Kassav, Bob Marley, like it's, and then American music, of course, but yeah, it definitely helped 100%. Yeah, get your music game on. Yeah, listen to a lot of music. It will only widen your horizons. Yes.
I agree.
Be open-minded.
Do you ever get back to Suriname for visits?
I used to go back a lot. I haven't been back in a while. Hopefully by next year, the pandemic goes down a little bit and then, go visit. Yeah.
Now, Serge, I've known you for a long time, and I know I just want to mention this because this interview is really about you. And you're very passionate about one topic, which is the environment, and that's for obvious reasons. But I just want you to ask, how did you become sort of involved with the environment and this movement?
Man, as a kid, back in Suriname, we used to go see sea turtles lay eggs, like on the beach, right? So for some reason that caught me, like really, like that was like really got me in a soft spot. So when growing up, and then now when years later, you see how they get caught up in the nets and the plastic.
But a lot of this goes back to what you saw as a child and growing up in that pristine environment in Suriname. I myself are from the Caribbean, so I understand that pristineness of the environment. When you look out there, because you sound so busy that you're not even really thinking about this, but I got to ask it anyway. Are there any artists out there that you would say, man, I'd love to do a record with that person?
Oh man, there's so many. I welcome every artist to work with. I like that. Like I always say, I wanted to work with, what's her name? The girl that plays the sitar, like Shankar's daughter. Anushka Shankar. Oh man, I would love to do a record with Anushka Shankar. Anushka, if you're listening, I would love to mix a record with you. And of course, there's other artists. Don't get it twisted. There's a lot of artists I would love to work with. Okay, I work with everybody, anybody. But
Anushka is one step ahead of everybody else. Anushka, if you're listening, contact me, okay? I'll hook you up.
Because it's about the sitar, man. That sitar, the way she plays that sitar. Oh, it's amazing. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, for example, I work with this artist. She's a pianist, Chloe Flowers. She's a classically trained pianist, but she plays pop stuff.
Wow.
Pop. She calls it popsicle. You should check it out. She's amazing too. She's amazing as well. Yeah.
Very cool. Now, watching out here, a lot of young people. They want to get into the audio business. They want to become recording engineers. They want to become producers. A lot of them don't know what to do. They got a lot of different direction. What would you say to them as far as your advice as to some of the things that maybe work for you that you think might work for them? What's Serge say?
Man, when we started from nothing. So what I'm trying to say is now the kids have so many options. So many. It's so many. For example, like I tell the young kids, you guys know how to run fast, but you guys don't know where to run to, because there's so many options. Right? They have 100 like plugins. Every week they want to buy a new plugin. No, learn the you already have first. Learn it. Master your craft. Start with minimal, because it's not the more plugins you have, the better your sound. It's how well you know to operate the stuff and work your stuff. That's how you're gonna get the sound. It's not like, oh, I have 100 plugins and now your sound is good. No, how well it's like this. Who you think is a more dangerous martial artist? The martial artist who practices that one kick 100 times, or the one martial artist who practices 100 different kicks one time? Same philosophy. Same philosophy. So, I come from, we really had nothing. So that's why, as far as audio goes, sound, man, we was third world. Mm-hmm. I come from 6 tracks on an 8-track recorder. Now I have unlimited tracks. Mm-hmm. So,
And the last question.
Learn your stuff.
The last question, Serge. What sounds good?
Yes, sir.
Tell me, what sounds good to you?
What doesn't sound good? What doesn't sound good? Everything sounds good. Everything can be a sound. Everything can be made sound as for appropriate what it's needed for. And You see, we spoke about music all this time, but I really come from sound. You know, when I graduated here, we was even in court reporting. I was a court reporter, recording in court. We even did SWI, which is called Simultaneous Wireless Interpretation Systems for conferences. You know, where the people put on the headphones and they put in you can hear the same person say it in Japanese or in what. I did that too. So I'm a real audio guy. So
sound is sound.
Sound is sound. Yeah.
And you just deal with it as it comes.
Yeah. As it comes.
That's the Serge philosophy. Well, thank you, man. Any last words you want to say? Anything you want to say out there to the universe, to anybody
First,
listening?
I want to say thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity, you know, to be able to express myself here, and thank you. I want to say thank you for the music opportunities that I've had over the years, and I want to say we're getting ready for more things, bigger things.
All right, brother. So thank you so much. Send my regards to Jerry and the crew.
Yes, I will.
Keep up the 100%. Good work. Stay as cool as you are. I love you. You know that, man. You know you guys are in my heart.
Love you too, bro.
Anything you need, you know, you just I'm just in the middle of it.